Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. I'm super excited because today on the show, we've got my buddy Andre. We recently connected down in Texas through our buddy Brandon Gadors at an event, and we connected really well. We played a bunch of Jenga. We went out and about. Great. He delivered an amazing keynote. It was just an overall great time. And I was talking to him, and I'm like, dude, I got to have you on the podcast. Love to dive into your story a little bit more and hear a bit more about what you're doing as an individual. So welcome, Andre. Thank you for coming on today, man. I'm excited to dive in and speak with you.
Oh, Rob, thank you for inviting me. It's always, a pleasure to see you. And yeah, you're kind of my brother from another mother now. So, and as a podcaster, right? You, as I call us disruptors, right? Making people think maybe differently or rethink a little bit of disruptors, and then inspiring, of course, on the other side as well. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I love that too. Yeah, I tend to play devil's advocate probably more so than I should. And even if I don't necessarily agree with the statement, I usually like to play it from the other perspective. And Victoria doesn't seem to like that sometimes. So
This disruptor, that's the
yeah,
mentality. That's how we're wired.
I love it.
It's okay. Good.
Well, let's dive in. So
Okay.
would you mind introducing yourself a little bit about what you do? So for those who don't know, Andre's a relationship expert, coach, guru. What is your correct terminology for what it is that you do?
Well, I start primarily with relationship/life coaching, because everything in life is about relationships. But some people approach me from the love dynamic, men and women, which I think is one of my favorite part, because it's the same plus more emotions involved, so more delicate, more frustration, more right. So the love dynamic is a whole different level within the world of relationships and communication. So I'm also a NLP practitioner. That's how I help my clients with their trauma release. It's essential. I always say I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship to clean up your baggage from your past as a child, as a young adult, and all the relationships that were damaging more than help, right? So that's part of the work. I'm also an educator of effective communication strategies. Woof, there's a mouthful. But the part of it, one of the biggest issues with all relationships is we don't communicate very well. Anthropologically, we learned to speak 44,000 years ago. And before that, it was all cavemen, cavewomen, grunting, face expression, right? So 7% of our communications are words. That's why we suck the most at it. And that's what we really affects us the least. And on top of that, men and women communicate completely differently. And that sounds ridiculous because, we look at each other in the eye, you hear the words that come out of my mouth, we speak English. What I'm saying is not what she's hearing, and what she's saying is not what I'm hearing. You and I are hearing. So that's a beautiful part. There's 5 major things in my work that I help decode in order to get in flow in relationships and stop the frustration, the collision, you know, because we don't understand these things at all, right? We're not the same. We're not the same. We're not the same without the same, right? Out there in the culture, they talk about equality and 50-50, right? It works for business and money fantastically. In relationships, it doesn't work. It makes it more complicated. And I'm sure you experienced that. And I'm really busy because the world comes at me with, it's not working. I don't know why. We have all the choices. The channels are open. Nobody's restricted anymore. We've we like soften the men and empower women. It should work, but it doesn't. It's the worst thing that's ever happened. And everybody's struggling and they don't know why. Anyway, so that's my work. That's what I'm up to.
Yeah, and I love that too because my mentor Brett always talks about how miscommunication is the baseline.
God.
And like you said it perfectly there with all that. And like you say one thing, you intend one thing, somebody hears something totally different.
Yep.
And the whole game should be to try to minimize the miscommunication as best as you can,
Well,
so that you can have deliver better communication overall.
but we think we're communicating. That's my point. Like, we think we're doing it right. I'm talking to you. You hear that right? But
Yeah.
like again, the filter is different. What's happening is with different filters. Like you and I, as two men, will tend to not trip on each other very much, right? But you and your girlfriend, me and my wife, me and the women in my world, often, I'll say things and they'll assume something else. They read between the lines as opposed to listen to the words. That's just how they do it, right? So with that, they come to terrible conclusions, and now their feelings are hurt. You're like, what the hell? That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not at all what I did. It's like, yes, it is. I feel it. So like this collision is, we think we're doing it. Like we're using words, and we're not communicating. We're constantly missing the boat. And I can give you an example that'll make your hair this curly as mine. It's crazy what we do, and we have no idea we're doing it, and we think we're doing it. That's really where some of the big troubles, especially in communication, come from. Peace.
So what brought you into this realm? How did you even get into the like how did you even get started in the whole realm of relationships and communication?
Yeah, good question. So, long story short, I was at 5 years old when my consciousness and my feelings could actually come together. Right, we all wake up. I call it. We'll all come online at 5. We have now language and thoughts to connect with our feelings, because before that we're all feelings, right? You have a fit if you're not agreeing with mom and dad's rules, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, so the moment you learn language, 2 or 3 years old, right, until it becomes you can actually think for yourself, we're just feelings. So at 5 we come online, thinking and feeling can actually get in line. My awareness at 5, I can tell you exactly where it's sitting, is that I was born in the wrong family. I'm not supposed to be here, right? These are not my people. I don't fit in here. There's something wrong. You know how terrifying that is as a 5-year-old? It's terrifying. So I knew I was going to raise myself. I was going to be whatever. But what happened in that moment is my awareness, and I call it my internal radar, kind of went and started watching the world, right? First, to understand my circumstances. How the hell can you be born in the wrong family? I mean, how does that? But that's what I concluded. Like there was no other explanation.
Hmm.
How does it? So I started watching the world. I literally was a kid in the corner, constantly watching people. I've been doing this since 5 years old, right? And when you practice something this much, you become attuned, right? You begin an instinct and an affinity. So I could look at people and if I focus on somebody, I could actually feel what they're feeling. Interesting. So it's good for my work, but that started that way. I've also been doing personal development since I was 23 years old because of that, those beginnings. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was here for. I didn't know I was going to be here for very long. I was just like, I need to figure out, why I'm here, because I was apparently I'm not supposed to be here, right? What the hell? Anyway, so personal development. Um, I've had three phases to my life. I used to be a professional commercial dancer. I think you know this, right? I worked
Mhm.
with Michael Jackson, Prince, Paul Abdul, and all these guys for 15 years. And then my wife in my dance class, because I was teaching class as well. And we got married, and when we decided to start a family, I realized I wasn't going to be like my dad. I wasn't going to be absent. I wasn't going to be in Europe or China, whatever, Asia with my kids. So I stopped dancing. Phase two of my life, I opened a car shop in Los Angeles. Allowed me to buy a house and take care of my kids and be present. And that's really the goal. I want to be present for my kids, and I want to be in their lives, like, you know. So the business, get this, in Los Angeles, is unheard of. My business was 6 minutes from my house, and the kids' school was 2 blocks away. So we used to walk into school all the time, right? So I was at every recital with my wife, every parade, every whatever the hell's going on in school. There's both of us all the time. I never had that, so that was important for me. So by design, changed my life because my life was changing, and it was this phase two, right? And then phase three happened in 2018 years ago. It was crazy. So in the world of personal development, is in Los Angeles is a lot of people, but then it's also a small community. You keep running into the same people. So I'm in Northern California, San Jose, in a 3-day workshop about business, lifting the roof of my business. I wanted, whatever, make it more successful. On the flight back to Los Angeles, I end up at, it was the last time that I believed life was random. Because before that, I thought I was a lucky guy and shit happens and, amazing and good for me. Realized there was a destiny already in place on some level. And this last moment is pivotal in my entire life. And this is when I'm like, okay. So we're sitting on the plane, 200 people on the plane, flying back to LA. And what are the odds? I'm sitting in a row with a couple that I met at the event. It's just 1, 2, 3, you know. And so I'm like, that's kind of cool, right? But the lady says to me, as we're flying in, she's like, "What are you doing next weekend?" I go, "Next weekend, I'm free. Why?" She goes, "You want to come to a workshop? It's on me." I'm like, "Absolutely," because I'm a workshop head. I learned something. It could be about watermelons or like what. I'll, I'm curious. I want to know everything, especially if you're a specialist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I said yes first, and then I'm like, "So what's the workshop?" And she goes, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." Oh boy! Now my reaction when I tell this, when I told my friends the story, they're like, "Dude, there's no such thing. They don't even know. They don't understand themselves. They're completely." That wasn't my reaction. My reaction was like, my life experience with women is that I always attracted sweet, sweet, sweet women. That was my life. I didn't do the drama, the screaming that my friends did, the yelling, I just, you meet my wife, you go, oh wow, right? Because you will with my wife, you'll go, oh wow, like she's just as her loveliness, right? So understanding women, and my first thought was like, oh man, but I got this. I couldn't
You're
tell
like
you
you're like I'm
how.
ready to teach this.
I know, I got this. I mean, my friends looking up to me, be like, how do you find a girl like her, right? Now I couldn't, even though I thought I had it, I couldn't explain it. I don't know how I attracted sweet women. That was just I thought it was me, but how? Anyway, so I went in there a little bit backwards because I thought it was gonna be cute. You know what I mean? I'm saying women cute, right? I walked into space, 400 people in the space. Whoa, not cute. And I could feel there was something in that room. There was something like big and magical in the space. And sat down, opened my ears, right? And all I can tell you is by the end of the workshop, my brain is all over the walls. I slipped off my chair 7 times, off my chair, like in disbelief of the things that we're understanding about women that we as males have no idea. And the workshop leader was amazing because every time she dropped a bomb and I fell off my chair with another two guys who were like just baffled. She says, just so you don't think I'm crazy up front, right? Let's take 5 minutes to check with the ladies next to you because it was a mixed crowd and they did it on purpose.
Mm.
It's brilliant, right? And I remember there's a 19-year-old on my left, on my right, and a 30-year-old on my right, on my left. But I always start with the 19-year-old. So with bomb, I picked myself up from my chair. I'm like, looked at her and go, no. She's like, yeah. I'm like, but that's impossible. That would make me crazy. Yeah, sometimes we think we're crazy. Sometimes we act crazy. But I mean, that doesn't make it. That's how we are. Like, so what I'm saying to you is like, I realized on the other side of this that I knew nothing about women. This guy who thinks he's got it, right? Nothing, like nothing, like scary nothing. Like, but you understand at that time, I also married with 2 little kids. That also meant I knew
Yeah.
nothing about my wife. I alarm, right? Like, so I was this, I panicked. I'm like, I'm not going to be statistic because I don't know this. I don't know what I'm doing to her. Obviously, I don't know how she's processing. I don't know why she takes things personally. I don't know. I yeah, like I saw all the like. I don't know any of this. You know what I mean? And that's how it started. So I jumped into that company. I took all their workshops, and after taking the workshops, I started assisting for free. You could be in the room after you paid for the first round, right?
Hmm.
Because even the same workshop, the teacher would be different, the question would be different. Like, do more, more, more. Now I was doing this for us. I was doing this for me and her and her family. I wasn't doing this as a possible, business in the future. I just didn't want to be statistic. And all my siblings, there's two and three, like divorce is terrible. I was not
Uh,
gonna lose my baby, my life, my wife, my kids, because I didn't know. To me, that was obscene. So I kind of went crazy. I'm a little bit like this. So after that, I continued studying. I became a workshop leader for them. Decided to not that was the wrong track at that time. Um, just the politics of the company and whatever. But I continue researching and studying. So I'm now standing on the shoulders of 5 masters in the field of relationship dynamics. So everything I talk about is not my opinion. It's nature, science, biology, anthropology, and psychology all mixed together. So the cocktail of how to break down relationship dynamics is my work. So what happened is I started teaching my friends, and people in my business kept showing up and crying on me at the front desk when they're dropping their cars for repair. It was crazy. Like, I'm also the guy that people talk to. Like, I've always had that. I don't know what that is either, but people just reveal everything to me. So so much so that that's how it started, right? I would close the gate, the door to my office, and the guys knew that meant don't come in, somebody's crying, right? So that developed into full on, 2000. This was 2006, so 18 years ago.
wow.
And 3 years later, I started the company, Project Equinox, and this is now the full time. My job is to help alleviate the pain, confusion, frustration, in love dynamics. By the way, it's not just men and women; it's also men, women, women. It's all the same. The people who succeed, they know how to do this. Who do it naturally, or we research and study them, all do the same thing, regardless of between your legs, regardless of orientation. They do yin yang. They do polarity. They do complementary dynamic. So the people who do it naturally, about 10% of the population, gay, straight, lesbian, who can sustain long-term relationship, all naturally seem to know how to do it. The rest of us have to learn. So now we know what works, you know, in our culture today in a modern way. Right?
Oh
So
wow.
that was a win. I'm sorry, but this
No,
was a
no,
short
no.
version.
No. I
Yeah.
I appreciate the story because that makes it so much more easier to understand and connect with you. But geez, wow, that I mean, I was in a similar situation once I first started with this organization, Art of Coaching. I kind of started diving in, absorbing it, and then I was like, oh, I got to do this more. I got to do this more. And it was similar to the things that you went through in terms of what the material that you're learning, communication styles, influence tactics, type like basically conflict resolution and navigating power dynamics and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. And I was like eating it up like crazy. So I relate to what you're talking about, how like, wow, you were like, time for me to go crazy on that stuff. Um, but I want to dive in a little bit more into your story because you had the shop for a while and then you decided to start Project Equinox. And could you share a little bit about how that was like? Because like, do you still have the shop? What was the transition like in terms of business wise? And
That almost killed me. The shop started in 2000. So about 2006, this is the event happened at the workshop, right? And like I said, I went nuts. I went nuts. I was and every weekend I was gone. Every weekend I was in a workshop. Every weekend I was right and learning this stuff. And the more I learned, the more I realized I needed like there was more. That's why I
yeah,
couldn't stop. There was always more, right? All the layers. So what happened at one point, like I hired the body shop is very it's an auto body shop, so it's very difficult to run. There's a lot of details. It's very time and energy consuming. So I was the boss. I was managing everything. 5 employees, sometimes six. And what happened is when I realized I wanted to do more coaching, that was sort of the pull that organically just kept coming. I hired a manager to manage my business, and I was trying to keep it as an ATM machine, right? You can own a business and not be part of it. Like, Elon Musk got what's got 600 companies, six whatever, right? Like
Yeah.
he's not managing any of that shit. Excuse my French, right? He's just right. So
Yeah.
I can, keep the business as a cash machine as I'm developing this thing and putting my energy here. And what happened is the manager that I hired was so good that he kept growing the business, which made it impossible for me to get out of it because the more busy, the more I need to be involved. Like he just, and at the same time, the other side grew like crazy. So now my life went this,
Yeah. Being split.
like, but I mean, like I almost died. I mean, I worked all the time. I had advance in the weekend. I had advance on Tuesday nights on top of working 10-hour days at the shop. Like it was like, but I couldn't. I was trying to find a way to do both. And to keep the business. And uh, right before COVID, 5 or 6, right, 6 years ago, um, I got it. I can't do both. It's impossible.
Yeah.
And if I'm out of the business, the person to replace me, and the salary that we required, makes the formula upside down. Now we're going in the red every week, every month.
Mm.
Impossible. I did for 5 years. I tried to make this work out. It was okay. So then it became we gotta let it go. So I own the business. I own the property. Sold everything. I didn't want to be attached to any of it any longer. Even I could have kept it as a landlord. Too much and too like no. So I sold everything and then officially, boom, this is full time,
Full diving into
full
that.
dive into it. It's like, and it's my God mission. It's not even a choice, really. It was just like it came down one day. This is my job to teach this to the masses. People are struggling. Women are in pain. And women feel abandoned. They don't know what's going on. Men are like I don't want any of it. You know what I mean? So it's a terrible, terrible thing that's happened to our culture. We know how we got here, but people need help to recalibrate. People need help to come back together. People need to understand the dance. I call it the dance of relationship. Our ancestors could do it naturally because men were men, women were women. Now we dismantle all the titles in the name of freedom. I get it, beautiful, fantastic, but it made things more complicated now. Really complicated. Again, empowering women is great, but now you know, and softening men because they're toxic and dangerous. No, those are boys. Those are not men, right? But it's that kind of belief out there that but what I see that's really, really devastating for women is they were trained and raised from little girls to be strong, independent, and powerful, right? Don't need no man because they cheat, they're toxic, they're dangerous, you can't trust them anyway. Well, really? Really? And it's actually out there. Like people believe that. So guys are being just feeling disrespected and shit on and women are mean and condescending. They go, "Where are the women? These are all like angry, nasty, non-feminine, like," and the women are like, "Where are the man?" Right? Because the men that are soft, they say they want a nice guy, but they don't respect a nice guy. They don't like a nice guy. They put him in a friend zone. They want
Mm.
the guy, the top tier guy who's traditional. I mean, like he's because our role as men has not changed at all in our culture at all, right? Men expected to provide, protect, cherish, give, support, lead, and pay. Pay, 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 pay. That's the new one. That's like more calibrated. I have no problem with that at all. That's my job as a man to take care of my family and provide the machine. Right? I'll kill myself out there for them to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem with that. But so women still want these guys, and they're the top earners, like the 10% of men who actually have all of that, right? So women are looking still for traditional males, but they were taught, or they believe, or they refuse to be traditional themselves. They want to be
Mm.
married, but they don't want to be wives. They don't want kids. They want the comfort, but they don't understand the yin yang of the dance. So, there's a lot of stuff out there. I'm watching you thinking now. I'm watching your brain go.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of out there, like, what do you bring to the table? And women like, I bring this to the table. No, that's not enough for an alpha male, a guy who has his life together, who's got good character, build his business, build his life, who's successful. You know, these guys who are masculine are not interested in masculine energy women. And if you're only going to bring your body and your beauty forward, like, it's a joke, man. These guys want quality women who want to be mother, have their children, right? Have build a legacy and a kingdom, put their arms around all of it and go, look what I did. That's what traditional men do. But again, we teach women to not be traditional. You're better off. You're better than me, some guy's slave, and children will ruin your life. Really?
Well,
It's feeling.
so
It's ugly, right?
yeah, no, it's a difficult game or dance, I guess, right? So, but I'm curious though. So, like, because you're talking about, you said before that there's a differences. I think I've heard you share before about like different levels or ages, I guess, of men. And you said like certain ones who are doing like the lying, cheating, and like kind of like running around, they're not really
Yep.
serious.
Yep. Those are
How
not
does that?
men. Those are boys.
So how do you differentiate those,
So
and when do they change, and where do they all eventually get to becoming men? Or because I know there's a bunch of people who are still kind of like, I would
right.
say, immature, I guess.
No, for sure. So in my world, there's four types of men, and
Yeah.
on the other side, there's also four types of women. And the bottom ones, especially on both sides, but more so on the guy side, the bottom ones for women have to learn to avoid at all costs because these are the ones that cheat, lie, scam, right? Like those are the toxic ones. Men are not toxic. Men provide, protect everything, everyone, anything that needs protection, right? A woman's car breaks down, a man's gonna pull over to help her, not a woman. It would be dangerous. She doesn't know her. Why would she put herself in danger for another chick? Women don't do
Yeah.
that, right? It could be a trap. I get it. So a man will pull over to help the lady, and then right behind him there's gonna be another guy just to make sure he's not a creep. Because that's what we do. We defend women for these bastards, right? Like
Mhm.
that's what natural masculinity does. So the toxic ones are not masculine; they're feminine. It's actually the lack of masculinity that makes them toxic, manipulative, shitty, vicious. These are the guys who hurt, rape, cheat, lie, whatever. So those are the boys. Now get this: in the normal development of a man, a boy obviously turns into a guy, teenager, turns into a man, and ultimately becomes a gentleman, typically.
Mm.
Right? So this is the natural progression. But what happened is in our culture, and again, there's good reason for this psychologically and life, you know, the way the way you were raised, the household you were, born into and grew into, boys, grown men will get stuck in boyhood. These are what I'm talking about, right? As far as much as natural as men want to provide, protect, cherish, give support, lead their wives, their kids, their lives, boys are takers. They want to take your money, they want to take your time, they want to take your energy, right? They manipulate women because they think women are here to serve them. So those are liars and cheaters. They'll say anything to get what they want. They're narcissistic, right? And they're all about me. So he's a 10 and everybody in this world is a 0. They play victim. Life is so difficult. You have no idea how tough it is out there, really. Right. So, I mean, but it works. So they get stuck in boyhood, typically no daddy, bad daddy, or um, single mom because there's no role modeling. So they get stuck in the feminine, and the feminine, will pull towards as opposed to give, will take.
Mm.
You see it? So they're
Yeah.
inside out. We call it ego dystonic. So these guys have to be avoided at all costs. Problem is, you ready? If you're a masculine woman, most everybody in our culture now, right? Masculine energy woman, you could be beautiful and lovely. Doesn't mean you're feminine, right? So masculine energy is the energy that you bring. If you're masculine energy woman, are you ready? You only will attract feminine men, those toxic ones.
Mm.
And then you think that's men. Because one after the other, your energy will attract the opposite. This is nature. This is not my opinion. This is everything in nature is polarized. Yin
Yeah.
yang, black, white, masculine, feminine, men, women, right? Everything is male, female. Everything that grows is polarized and in opposition. So you're going to be masculine, you're going to attract a boy over and over and over and over again. And you think that's men, then you don't trust us, that we're toxic. Yeah, those are the ones who have the worst experience. Have to avoid these guys, but you also have to tune in your energy to be able to attract the masculine one. You see
Mm.
the magic? So it's not that complicated. You have to understand the game, and really, it's the energy that you bring. It's how people are. You understand your energy introduces you before you open your mouth.
Well, so what do you do? How, like, as a guy, how do you level up to the next? How do you ultimately get to that gentleman status?
Yeah, again, nature should do it if you raise right. If you have a father role model and a mother who's nurturing appropriately, when the balance is well done, bloop, that happens. But most of us experience some glitch in the formula, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, if you consider 70% of young men don't have fathers, that explains a whole lot, right? These
Yeah.
guys that don't make decisions, they can't support, and they just live small, they're fitty, a lot of boys, right? So the guys that are stuck in the middle, guys are like masculine enough to have a job in an apartment, they don't live in the basement of mom's house at 30, right? But they have a little shitty job, they have a little shitty car, right? They have two roommates or three, so they live small because there's no reason to push harder for them. They're masculine enough to do life, but they were shamed out of being masculine by the culture typically, or their
Mm.
mothers, right? Be a nice guy, don't lean on women, be a nice guy, be a nice guy. So these guys end up literally kind of having a sense of masculinity, but not when it comes to women in relationships. So these guys will say stuff like, "So where do you want to go for dinner? So what movie you want to go see? So am I going to see you this weekend?" Like they put it on the women, thinking they're being polite, not understanding women absolutely hate that.
Yeah.
Because if you put it on her, you're putting her to masculine. She's been masculine all day, all week, all month. And then now you're going to put it on her to create an evening, right? So I always say to the guys when I teach this stuff to men, I'm like, if you want a lady on your arm this evening, make the freaking plan, right? It's flattering. She doesn't have to think about it. She doesn't have to create anything. And because get this is a big reason why. If you pick the wrong restaurant as a woman or the wrong movie, and he talks shit about the movie afterwards because it's a piece of crap and girl flick, right? She's gonna get pissed because she picked wrong. You know, so you don't put it on her. You make a plan and you ask how she feels about it, and then she can adjust. I mean, that's the magic of it.
Yeah.
So the guys just don't know. So they get friend zoned, friend zoned, friend zoned. They're not masculine enough, and they don't make plans. They put everything on her. Women like next. You know what I mean? Men are men. Men just have typically more traditional systems in place. A father figure that's appropriate masculine that teach him to be appropriately masculine, right? Keeps him from going to dictatorship and toxicity, or being too much of a beast. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
the father will actually raise the son in the easy calibration that is masculine and respective to the world, to people, to women, right? That's so. So men are men, and they know who they are. They conquer their fears. They push through they build their characters, right? Because they conquer fears and they push and push and push and compete with everything, everyone out there to make something of themselves. That's naturally what we want to be. We want to be powerful. We want to be successful. So when you push like this, you conquer yourself and build your character, you build your confidence, and typically you build the business, you can make some money, some good money. And these men that are traditional, who fought to create the life that they've decided they created, these are the guys who want women, wives, children, legacy, and leave, you know, build a kingdom and leave a legacy behind, whether it's the kids and the money and the career or the business or all of it. That's what men want, the masculine ones. The problem with masculine men, right, is that they're hard to connect emotionally with the ladies. So there's a way to bring this beast, because we're beastly. I call it, we're testosterone, right? We're big, we're loud, we're conquering, we push, we push. We often run people over. I run my wife over all the time. Forget about her. She's like, oh, great. I'm trying to explain. You don't have to explain. I want to come. That's fine. I don't need to hear it. But it's like, because so we do shit all the time. We run them over, right? We're too controlling. We're too big. We're too testosterone. And so women are like, oh, God, he's so, right? Well,
Yeah.
there's a way to bring him out of his head, out of that beast energy into his heart. And we need women and femininity to do this. Ha! Now, every successful man understands this, right? Every guy who's successful, as I, will say, I wouldn't be this guy without my wife. And I can tell you this, I would not be this man without my wife. I wouldn't care about anything as much as I do because of her and the standard in which she she inspires me to be.
Mhm.
Every man who's successful says that. Behind every successful man is a fantastic woman who knows how to blow wind in his sail, and it'll create stuff that you can't even imagine. Like they all say the same thing. So as a woman in his, you know, in his life, you blow wind in his sail as opposed to blow wind in his face, which is
Mm.
what's happening out there all the time. And women don't understand why men don't commit. You win in his face, not the win in the sail, right? So I could do this all day long. So sorry.
Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So, whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. Oh no, that makes
Woo!
sense. I like the analogy with the sales, because that makes a lot of sense there. So where do you fall in with your coaching? Like what does it even look like coaching with you? Do you do I know you do one-on-one coaching and I know you do
Yeah,
events and
yeah,
do you do
yeah.
group coaching and what
All of
does it
it.
even look like working with you?
Again, it's a decoding and understanding of the dynamics between men and women, or men and men. Like the dynamics of what the energy that you bring will create the connection that and the relationship that you create. So if you tend to be too masculine as a woman, you're gonna get bumped around like crazy and think men are jerks,
Yeah.
right? And like that's, but it's not understanding men. And when a woman is masculine, it's actually instantly disrespectful to my masculinity, your masculinity, right? Masculine men do not like masculine women. They're irritating. They're off-putting. They're too big, right? They're like the things they complain about us, right? They're too opinionated. They're too combative. That's, men don't appreciate that in women. Even at work, they'll take it, but only so much.
Well, so why do men like, or are men usually attracted to other masculine men in like a sense of like a bromance or a team or something like that? Because like I'm thinking sports, like I'd rather have like a more testosterone guy on my team by my side if we're trying to kill the other
Yeah,
team, basically.
for sure. But as men, we like to come together as warriors and conquer everything. So every sports team is that. There's a hierarchy of everybody knowing their place, but together we're going to conquer the field. We're going to conquer the game. We're going to conquer the whatever, right? There's a coach and there's a the line by the right that there's everybody's got their place and they're very clear on it,
Yeah.
right? I'm the defense. I'm defense, right? I'm not like so together. The hierarchy of organized strengths, mine is different than yours, and all the stuff. We come together in the right mix. We conquer the world. The men want to do this naturally. Men do this instinctively,
Mm.
right? You create hierarchy to work, to fight, to compete, to win.
So then how come a masculine woman wouldn't fit in there as well in like a non-romantic kind of a relationship?
Well, typically, even a masculine woman is still a woman, right? And it comes with resisting masculine leadership when they're in that mode. They resist masculine leadership, right? So they become combative, right? So often disrespectful. Um, all the things that they don't appreciate about us, they'll throw at us. And men are like, stop, nope, nope, right? So it's just a mechanism. You understand
Mm.
that men are warriors at heart. You know this. I know this. You're a warrior. I know who you are, right? Do you let anybody tell you what to do?
No.
You can't. That would be like you'd be a noodle, right? So
Yeah.
masculinity resists outside input of any kind. No man's going to tell you how you should be unless you're asking, right? But if somebody's going to lean on you, telling you need to be more like this, you need to be more like that, you need to be more like this, right? You go, get the hell out of here. We don't respond to being commanded, right? We are in
Mm.
charge of our lives. We control our lives. This is how we survive. This is how we create a business. So unsolicited advice, opinion, or leaning on is instantly go, what the hell? Get the hell out of here. Right. So in our culture, women become, you need to be more like this. You need to talk like this. I want you to be more like that. I want you to talk to me this way. I want you to, and what it does, it puts men back. Not understanding how that works. Now, there's a way to do an opposite to bring him to adjust all these things using his instinct. But when you're commanding and masculine, men push back and you think they're jerks. You see it?
So you say basically what you're doing is you're helping decode different like situations and relationships. So when you come in, So with someone listening right now, how do
Yeah.
they know like, hey, I need Andre's help? Because are they in a bad relationship, or are they like in a good relationship trying to make it better, or not even in a relationship?
No, it's typically can't get away, so probably 80% of my customers are women, single, 30 plus, strong, independent, powerful, who realize now, money doesn't make her happy. She's tired. She's burning out, right? If she's got everything, she carries everything like a man, right? And they'll say things to me like, I have a house, I have a business that speaks six figure, I have everything, but I'm lonely. I'm tired. So by 30 plus, they come at me with, I don't want to work this hard, right? I want a relationship. I want some help. I want companionship, all of the stuff, right? Except nobody wants to date me. What's wrong with me? I can't get a date. If I get a date, I get ghosted. I'm like, that's good energy. Not your fault, right? So these are bulk of my clients. They can't. They now want relationships, maybe families and kids, maybe, but it's over 30 something, and now they realize they actually want to be more feminine. They did the boss babe and they don't like it. They really don't like it. They're tired. So, but they don't know, understanding their masculine energy men aren't interested in them. So the men that they want don't want nothing to do with them. So how do we
Mm,
recalibrate? That's the word, right? So if you're tilted and you're masculine as a woman, this has been neglected. Lifestyle, childhood, I understand trauma, all of it, of course, right? But how we cultivate this side, and it adjusts, right? So the way I put it, it's a little bit crass, is you could be a boss babe. I'm not talking about undoing everything you build. That would be ridiculous. You're kind of, that's a ridiculous thing to say. My point is, if you tilted where your feminine has been dormant, is now behind you because you've been forced or pushed or valued for this. When you recultivate your feminine, right? The idea is you could be boss babe, just the way I put it, it's a little bit crass, but you want to leave your balls at work at the end of the day, ladies, and show up in the world as women, because that's when men are going to see you, right? So, in my world, a boss babe is a girl who understands how to do both. You can be a
mm,
boss. Turn that shit off when you're on a date. Turn that shit off when you're in the world. Let men be magnetic, feminine, and watch men go, hey, right? And you want a good guy, a top tier guy? He's masculine. He's traditional. Looking for traditional woman. That means feminine, warm, magnetic, inviting, radiant. It's very simple. And we know when we see it, we just we see massive feminine woman, like, oh wow, like we just it stops us in our tracks. So being masculine really is not an advantage for women. Being in the feminine is I call it their superpower. But the
mm.
culture told them, nah, that's weak and it's lame, and you know,
So really,
hey,
the key is to be able to distinguish between both sides, or being
ta-da,
able to turn the switch on and off, kind of.
ta-da, right? That takes practice because again, if you're tilted hard, right, and this becomes impossible, or you see men are not noticing you, like what happens when a woman's in a masculine, they completely disappear from our radar. We don't see them, we don't care for them, we don't say hi to them, right? Energetically,
Mm.
and part of that is instinctual energy. It's all energy. It's not gender, it's energy. So because you understand organically, masculinity has no there's no instinct for masculinity to take care of the other man. Like we don't, it's not my job to take care of another man. He's supposed to figure it out himself. He's supposed to conquer his own crap, right? Like I'll do myself, but we'll protect women like crazy. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So that our instinct is to protect the feminine. So when a woman's in her masculine, we don't care. They literally can become invisible, like a block of ice. And women are like, I'm pretty, I have everything. I'm nobody. You're not feminine. Like your energy is not magnetizing. You become invisible. So there's nothing wrong with you. You just overcalibrated. So the magic is to learn how to do both. It takes a minute, but it's really simple in the end when you practice it. All my ladies are like, "Oh my God, this is so amazingly simple. I just had no idea. Nobody's ever taught us." I know you were taught to be a boss. That's okay, but over calibration will leave you lonely. The same with
So,
men.
so I got to ask you to bring it towards like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
How can this benefit somebody in the business world um, when they're going through? Just is it just simply knowing when to kind of show up more masculine or show up a little bit turning things down, or is there something else to it?
No, it is pretty much understanding, what like the lifestyle that you want to have looks like what. If you entrepreneurial, there's going to be a lot of masculine energy, whether you're a boy or a girl. We both have both, by the way. So it's how do you balance it? Do you know what I mean? So, like, my wife and I are very traditional in the sense that I lead everything, and she supports my leadership. But she also has her own career. She's a ballerina, so she works in the colleges, right? Gets all the benefit, gets paid, gets to like live her passion, mentoring young adults into the ballet world. I mean, she's been doing it since she was 6 years old. I'm not going to take that away from her. I wouldn't, but she does it part time
Mm.
because the rest of the part, she works part time because I work full time, right? So she lives her dream, but appropriately for the feminine not to burn out. And the rest of the time, she could be a mom and a wife, take care of the house because that stresses her out if it's not taken care of. And so that's the organic mix. That's having it all. You
Mm.
know what I mean? But if you're going to lean too much in a 40, 50, 60-hour week as a woman, not only energetically you'll be off-putting to the man that you want, but understand that people hate that conversation, but it's just is. It's not my opinion. And you'll confirm this as a man, right? I want to say it this way: men do not commit to a woman who's committed to something else. You feel that?
Yeah, I can see that.
You know what I mean? So masculine men who work like dogs, right, will not sit at home till 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, waiting for her to come home. Like why? Like so, if a woman's committed to away from him, right? If he's gonna be in a relationship with a woman that he wants to build something with, right? If her focus is away from us, away from him, away from the family, away from being a mom, because that's typically what they want, they go, okay, next. I'll find a woman who's available. So being available is a huge part of this formula. The masculine man
Mm.
wants his woman to be available when he's done with his work, and this is the recharging, recovering, right?
Yeah.
That the feminine provides. So if you're not available, men will go, okay. I mean, I had a client, she came up to me, it's in Los Angeles, right? So she's a model, of course. She's blonde, she's beautiful, right? She does magazine covered and fitness stuff. She's a fitness coach, but also has a production company where she does like video editing and blah blah blah, right? So okay, girl, boss babe, fantastic, right? So she goes on a date with one of my clients, and good looking guy has shit together, right? So on their first date, she pulled her balls out. I do this, 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 I do this. I'm also a model. I'm the cover of this magazine, which is fine. But his reaction was like, hmm, no time for me in this space, in this life. There's no space for me in her life. Do you know what I mean? And you said to her, like, sounds like you're so busy, there's no space for a relationship in there. And she lost her mind. She's like, how dare you? He's like, dude, that's like, I'm looking for a woman, right, to be in a relationship with, and you're too busy doing everything else. That's more important. And by the way, I'm going to say this. This is going to sound terrible. And I'm not excusing anything or anyone, but a lot of men who have affairs are experiencing that. The woman is into something else and kind of left them behind.
Mm.
And often they go and they magnetize to something feminine, lovely, that's cute. And I guess so. I'm not excusing it. I'm not saying it right, but it's when you start looking at the data, the research, that what's happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really missing the boat on what works. And again, it's not
Well,
good.
for that one example that you gave a minute ago too, couldn't a couldn't a woman play that to an advantage if she was looking to kind of get a radar on the guys that she's dating and his masculinity? Because if somebody has high masculinity, wouldn't they kind of step up to the challenge to kind of be like, okay, well, I've also got X, Y, and Z going on to kind of show their masculinity, and then she could have like toned it back down, was like, oh, well, that's kind of something what I'm interested in finding is somebody who is a go getter, who's doing different things because I want to take a step back and kind of step away from it or something.
Yeah, that's possible, right? That's possible, but mostly it's a blind spot.
Mm.
If you're that energy, that attitude, that go, you know what I mean? Like, and I've seen this. I've seen like really masculine and very feminist women who like don't want no man, and just men are toxic and all that crap in the presence of a huge masculine man at my gym, right? The big guys who are like stoic, built like a brick house, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
then look down at her and goes, how you doing? turns into a little girl. You know what I mean? Masculine energy will bring a woman to feminine, right? So it's possible, but most
Ah,
men won't fight for women to become feminine. Like you either are or you're not, and so men won't fight for it. He could say, "Look, you need to chill out. You need to pull it back." Right? Women don't respond to that very well if they're in that masculine energy. And then,
mhm,
and why would he bother? Right? He's just going to find somebody who's feminine. He's going to find somebody who's less everything going on because
yeah.
he's got it going on. And what happens to
Ah,
get this? As men, you understand this, right? Why my job to me is always to keep my wife working as little as possible. Why? Because when she is less tired, when she's like more balanced, right? She's lovelier, she's happier, she's full of energy, she's radiant. She has the energy to take care of the stuff that she does naturally best around us, right? Connecting with the
mhm,
kids, connecting with me, being feminine, right? When she's good, like everyone's good.
mhm,
When she's happy, I'm happy. When she's good, I'm good. You understand? So men naturally will keep women comfortable as much as possible because that energy is what fuels us to go conquer the world. There's a yin
mhm.
yang here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? That's the magic. So, but now we have everybody 50-50. And then understand why men don't care because men are not attracted to that energy. They don't want that energy. They want the other side.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
Andre, so yeah, no, so this was awesome. And yeah, I love diving into it because it's interesting to hear you've got awesome insights and experiences in this whole world. So it's exciting to learn and hear from you. And so I appreciate this conversation and I want to be courteous of our time. So if
yeah,
somebody is listening and they are interested in getting in touch with you for maybe a workshop or something you've got coming up, or even
yeah,
your
sure.
coaching, if you are taking on new clients, that is, how do people get in touch with you?
So I'll send you. I have also two guest free listeners.
Oh,
So
awesome.
if you go to projectequinox.net, that's my website. There's podcasts, there's blogs, there's you can spend the day there. Um, I do a lot of podcasting because I'm spreading the world, I'm spreading the hope. Right, this is actually doable in this modern culture. We just have to understand. You understand what works better naturally with a modern twist. Next, I'm not going back to the 50s. Um, you can email me directly, Andre Coaching, the number one at Gmail, Andre Coaching one at Gmail. Direct my email, ask me questions, but also I'm going to send you. So I do a lot of podcasting again to spread the word, to spread the hope, to make people understand it's all very doable when you learn how the distinctions, how to come together, the yin yang of everything. Everything in nature is yang. So we're complementary as men and women. And how do we come together? Right? My strengths are completely different than my wife's strengths, but together, oof, dude. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
That's the magic. It's not masculine or masculine. It's not feminine or feminine. It's yin yang.
mhm,
Simple. Anyway, so I do podcasts again to spread the word and bring some understanding and alleviate the pain and the confusion. But I notice there's two type of listeners on podcasts. You're probably familiar with that. So the people who jump in the podcast because they're kind of, I hear this all the time. What's this masculine and feminine thing, right? Like this, like what do you mean? Like I'm a girl, I'm feminine. I'm like, well, not necessarily. Right? As a man, I'm masculine. Not necessarily at all. Women will get, will confirm that. So people who are just dabbling, I call them, right? They're information seekers. If you're an information seeker, we'll let the audience qualify themselves. If you're a lady, by the way, on this case, information seeker, directly to my email, Andre Coaching, the number one at gmail.com. And the subject box, you just write Irresistible Book. And what I'll do is I'll send you a copy of my book. It's called, you ready? Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. Ladies, this is some shit. 30 pages. It's a workbook. You get to fill it out. I'll send it to you digitally and you can print it and work it. I sell it on my website. I'll give it as a gift if you're an information seeker woman. By the way, ladies, this is my work with men. This is not my opinion. Nothing I teach is my opinion. It's all the work. This is men talking. What they find irresistible is not your butt, it's not your hair color, it's not your height, right? It's the energy that you bring, this is what I'm talking the whole time. Anyway, so that's one. If you're what I call the second type listeners are more like action takers, right? People who take naturally kind of lean in. Love these people because they lean in, right? These are the people who change their lives because they're the leading kind of type. Anyway, so if you're like more of an action taker, Andre Coaching one, in the subject box, just write talk now. And I'll send you a link to my calendar. And we'll have a conversation like you and I are having. And, in this call, it's on me, it's free, it's complimentary for people listening. We talk about what you're struggling with, right? Because people call me when they realize they're in the loop. Always the same damn result. It's very easily understandable because that's how our brain does. So we go right to it, 15 minutes. Literally, we go back to childhood and figure out where the wheels came off and why, if a woman, you're stuck in your masculine, why, as a man, you're stuck in your feminine, why it's not serving you, what's all the opposite, right? So that call alone is liberating for some people because people come at me with, what's wrong with me? I keep doing this. What's wrong with this? Nothing wrong with you. It's your a product of your past. So just understanding you're not broken is just your product of your past, which means we could fix it, NLP, get the trauma off of you. If we could do all this, what's the dream life? Because now it's possible if you do the work, right? You want marriage and kids, and then you want companionship only, but like a serious companionship when you're older. Like, oh, what is it you want? What's the dream life? And see if you want to step in. There's small, medium, large ways to work with me. There's workshops, but there's one-on-ones and group stuff. There's a bunch of ways to fit your budget. But the people who change their lives take action. So it takes a little courage. Again, this is who I am. So you could just, get on the call with me and no pressure to see what happens.
Yeah.
So, by the way,
great offers.
Thank you. By the way, if you want both, ask me for both. And you can ask for both and write me something. Ask me a question. Tell me I'm full of crap. I'm not full of crap. But please come at me, right? That's the idea, is to really kind of make this.
Yeah, there you go, guys. If you're just an information seeker, make sure you send in the email. I'll send back that workbook for you to kind of take action on your own. But if you're the person who's like, yeah, I really want to dive into this and get this rolling, make sure you dive in and contact him immediately and get rolling with it. Andre, dude, I appreciate it so much. This was awesome. It was really fun to kind of dive in and hear a little bit about your background, and then also hearing a lot on the masculine for men, boys, the guys, and everything in between. So this was a cool conversation. I really enjoyed it, dude. Thank you as always.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Talk soon, man.
Yes.
And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library, connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this: you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.